The MiG-19 was created to answer one important question. What do we do with all these fucking bombers? You see, while the MiG-15 had proven itself to be a fairly successful interceptor during the Korean War, advancements in technology had demanded more than the aircraft could continue to offer. Even with the upgrades that would come with the next class of fighters like the Yak-30 and MiG-17, it wouldn't be enough to answer the advancements that Western bombers were going through. In an attempt to mitigate these advancements, the Soviets threw everything they had at making a fighter that could both handle these dangerous bombers and the potential escorts the Americans would undoubtedly attempt to field alongside them. The result was a fighter that outclassed its predecessors and pushed the limits of the Soviet technology of the time. The newly developed fighter was capable of sustaining supersonic speeds in level flight and incredible high-speed controllability thanks to its redesigned control surfaces and a vertical energy retention that helped it climb to over 7 kilometers in under a minute. This wasn't just an improvement, this was a record-breaking upgrade to the Soviet arsenal that was only matched by the American F-100 Super Sabre, which, if you've used in-game, you'd know, isn't really the best dogfighter out there. Though the MiG-19 would hold its own for a few years, the introduction of the American F-104 and Soviet MiG-21 just a few years later would eventually overcast the career of the infantile fighter, leaving it behind as a lost relic of the early days of the Soviet-American arms race before it would even show the world what it had to offer. In-game, the MiG-19 has access to multiple new weapons and systems that place it ahead of the previous generation. This includes a fully realized radar suite, access to infrared air-to-air missiles, and an updated airframe designed specifically for supersonic flight. While not exactly the most earth-shattering plane in the game, the unique blend of matchmaking and fighter design makes for one of the more special experiences in the game, and perhaps the best way for new pilots to learn these systems. Starting with your radar, you can keep track of planes out to 12 kilometers with the option to lock targets within 4 kilometers for your radar gun sights. While this will help you locate sneakier enemies and improve your aim, in my experience, all it really does is alert your opponent to your position for minimal improvement to your aim and leaves you with a much harder time trying to shoot them down. For weapons, you have access to 2 R3 infrared missiles and a set of 30mm cannons for dispatching any of the particularly aware enemies out there. With these missiles being just limited to 10 Gs in a turn, you need to be somewhat picky with your targets, firing at enemies who are either completely unable to avoid your missile or people who are completely unaware of your presence. These targets should be pretty easy to spot given their complete lack of speed or just plain lack of consciousness as they barrel towards a base to bomb it. With your cannons, things are going to be a little bit more tricky though, since you have to know how to get an enemy into position for the kill and know how and when to shoot so you actually connect your shot. In most cases, the MiG-19 wants to stay faster than the target, preferably staying over 500 kilometers per hour and baiting the opponent into turning away. If there are no enemies around, you can pull your opponent into a sustained dogfight, where the brilliance of the MiG-19 really starts to kick in. When fighting other supersonic fighters, you'll want to try to slow things down, where your superior low-speed handling will allow you to outmaneuver them for an easier kill. You can just slam on your air brake to do this, though I do like to try to bait them into some sort of roll or fight where I can slow them down even more for an easy shot. When fighting subsonic fighters, however, you need to lean into your speed and make sure to push their airframe to compress before making your move and attempting any sort of reversal. This is somewhat of a blanket tactic though, and it does have a few holes, but it's honestly the best strategy that you really have in this plane, and it works in the vast majority of situations. For air matches, you need to bring a custom loadout of missiles and a rocket pod, which you are going to use as a makeshift set of flares on unavoidable missiles. For fuel, you need to bring just over a 50% load, giving you enough fuel to hit the merge with around 10 minutes left in your tank. This should be plenty enough for you to prowl the battlefield for targets and to keep your weight low enough to not affect your flight performance too much in a fight. Once to the fight, you'll want to try to chase down some of those less aware people and hand them a taxi voucher for the hangar before looking for more targets. Since the beginning clash is usually quite violent, I would recommend avoiding any dogfights or slow speed engagements for the first minute or two, or you're going to be the one getting that cab voucher instead. To put it plainly, the MiG-19 has quite a high skill ceiling, but in the right hands and with the right techniques, you can put yourself ahead of the competition. Now, if you followed all of this, you're gonna be bringing around 50% fuel, your 2 air-to-air missiles, and a set of rockets to use as makeshift flares should it fit your playstyle. In matches, you want to lean into your speed, opting to engage in fights at varying speeds according to the different opponents you might be facing at the time, and always make sure to pay attention to where your allies and enemies are so you know when and how to pounce on opportunities as they present themselves. If you follow this advice, you'll be sure to start stacking even more bodies and eventually call yourself an ace with the MiG-19. I'm gonna hop into a couple games now and show you guys what all of this looks like in practice and hopefully guide you to that next level of combat. Alright guys, so for today's match we have a game that I actually played on City about a week or so ago. We ended up scoring a lot of different kills that I thought really captured the spirit of what the MiG-19 is all about, showing different circumstances play out, like being at a disadvantage and how to work out of it, showing you how you can properly aim the guns, and a bunch of different stuff like that. So I decided that this was probably the match that we were going to work with today. We did unfortunately run into an issue with the recording where only certain parts of the match actually ended up getting recorded because of issues with the NVIDIA drivers that I was running at the time. I did end up working this all out and fixing the issue, but as you can see here, we're actually in the replay system with the HUD turned off to somewhat emulate what the gameplay was like in reality. As you saw there, we did end up scoring a kill on that AVA. He did try to get some shots off on us, but he was just at some weird angle and couldn't really do anything about us before we got our shots on him and folded his wings in. Here we've got another head on that we're going to try against. I think it's an F3H. Not really that successful, but you know, a few shots really means nothing. Now that the HUD's back on, we can see that there's a couple of people over on our left, including one that is very conveniently giving us a trail right to his position. They're both gonna eat missiles and be sent back to the hangar very quickly, and they're both going home now. Up ahead, we're just going to try to continue on after this F3H, hopefully preserve some of our energy instead of just bleeding it all off really early into the fight. Sort of let things simmer down while we pick and choose our fights. I did end up bleeding a lot of speed right there, bled almost half of it off in one fucking turn. But this guy was really slow and I was really hungry for a kill, so I thought this was a very worthwhile endeavor. Didn't really end up scoring anything there, and honestly just put myself in a really bad defensive position against a much slower opponent. Luckily, his aim was pretty bad and my teammates were right there to help me, so we did end up getting out of it. And I even gloated a little bit in the chat, kind of like the normal, you know, assholery that everybody does in their games every now and then. We do need to go out and hunt for some other people, make sure we're not getting killed by this A4E that's trying to make a pass on us. We're just gonna dive out of the way and go ahead and try to build back some of our speed. I did almost commit to this F100, but I saw on the minimap, hey, there's two guys chasing his ass. Maybe we don't do that. A little bit of perception goes a long ways in these matches, especially at this BR. Gives you the chance to, you know, not eat a missile to the afterburner. So good for us. Good situational awareness on my part here. And we can just sort of pick and choose who we want to go for. I noticed that the F100 over here, Dashi Prime, isn't going super fast, so I kind of wanted to go after him instead. Fire a couple of goofy little missiles right there, you know, just to taunt him somewhat. Hit the building instead. I'm sure those people are really happy about that. Sort of just a sitting duck for the MiG-19, so not really that much of a workout for me to get him either. And we're already at 4 kills. 80 bullets still left in the chamber. That's more than enough to score, God, even 4 kills. I mean, you only need like 10, 20 rounds to secure a kill anyways, so shouldn't be much of a struggle there. Here we have Obscured Tuna, who's actually going to be a little bit of a sort of like an anti-hero to me throughout this entire match. We see him multiple times here and there. Miss my shots there, almost get scored by my ally trying to nab that kill. You know, normal blue on blue action going on right there. And we're just gonna try to follow this guy down. We don't really have anybody in the area. We have 5 minutes worth of fuel to work with here. We should be pretty good. We don't really have much to really like try to attack this guy with. Every now and then, as you saw me do earlier, I like to fire off missiles to try and make people like waste their movement, waste their speed trying to turn and avoid them. Didn't really apply here at all, but I thought it was still kind of funny to like remind him, hey, I'm still here, asshole, you're not gonna fucking get away from me. And we just sort of run his ass down. I mean, we're faster than he is. He could probably get up to around where we are, but his engine is way less efficient, and I think he was prepping himself to land at the airfield here and only just now realizes, oh fuck, there's someone on my tail. Too late, asshole, you lost your tail control. Unfortunately for me though, I did not decide to finish this guy. He is going to somehow miraculously make it back to base with no tail control. Good use of his flaps and a little bit of, you know, sturdy handiwork, and he manages to land that thing pretty roughly on the airfield. Lucky for him and lucky for me in that head-on right there. I think I actually damaged his wing enough that he lost lift and then tried to turn. So he's absolutely stalling himself out right now, and I just damaged his fuel tank, so he's running out of fuel right now. And he just eats shit into the dirt. Very, very unlucky for him. I just caught him with his pants down, and right now, I'm in a 2v3 situation. It's actually going to turn into a 3v1, or a 1v3, but we're going to have to deal with 3 separate people, all on our own, and unfortunately somewhat at the same time. Here's the F-104. He tried to make a pass on us. We did consider going after him, but he was just getting away from us way too fast. Didn't want to waste a missile on something like that. Maybe we'd get a better chance to use it on him later when he makes some sort of mistake. Here we have an A4E that wants to come say hello with his guns. He doesn't look like he has a missile loadout. It looks like he was carrying his bomb load, so I'm just gonna keep running. I don't think he can throw anything after me. He's not the Israeli A yet, so we don't have to really worry about any more advanced missiles. We're actually in a really good position here. We're only in a 2v1 at the moment, and the 2 people I'm facing can't dogfight for shit, so we're going to actually try to press this issue if we can, try to work them into some sort of unfavorable position. I did consider going into this head-on with the A4, but the F-104 was also coming in, and I did not want to eat that fucking round to the face. So we're going to try to work this F-104 out front since he's so fast, maybe get some shots. But then we just heard a missile go off behind us. The F-100 is returned. So Obscure Tuna has come back to exact his vengeance for what we did to him earlier. And he's actually in a very, very advantageous position because I am slow as fuck and he has the energy to follow me right now. Now, I am doing everything in my power to try and keep myself as fast as I can and as maneuverable as I can to fight him. Lost a flap in the process. And I've also got the F-104 trying to drill me right now, so I'm absolutely, positively fucked right now if these guys work together well. Obscure Tuna's got another shot. He absolutely whiffs it, lucky for me. He did damn near touch me too. He was like fucking 20 feet off my tail at most. I did end up thinking that I could bleed all my speed and maybe drop my nose on him. Absolutely the worst decision I could have made. Absolutely set myself up for failure here, but I did slow myself down enough that I could flip over on top of Tuna and maybe secure this kill before the F-104 gets back. If you didn't see on the minimap, he was closing in very, very fast, like a scary amount of fast. So I actually have to try and score this kill as fast as I can. Luckily for me, the R3 doesn't care if he's going slow or not, it's going to pull into him. He is absolutely fucked right there. The F-104 misses his shots and lines up for a perfect fucking chambering with this fucking missile. And boom, he's missing his right fucking wing, and I think I damaged his tail control as well. It didn't even pop up and tell me what I actually damaged on him, but if you look in the distance and on the replay, He's missing his entire right wing, or almost his entire right wing, and he has almost no control in his tail. So that dude's just gonna fly off into a mountainside somewhere, and we don't really have to concern ourselves with him anymore. That was somewhat of a lucky situation for us, to be honest, with the F-100. He caught us with our pants down completely. We were going super slow. He had a lot of energy. He was in his prime maneuvering range, which is like 500 or so. He maneuvers really well. We were just in a very bad situation against that. But the lesson to be learned there is that the MiG-19 shouldn't really get that slow. I was under 500 for a lot of that fight, and it really started to show. I wasn't stall fighting him properly. I kept going into verticals and stalling myself out. And even at one point, for whatever reason, I decided to deploy my air brake and almost got shot down for it. Here we do find the A4E. He was rearming himself on the airfield, but we did eventually, or luckily, catch up to him before he was able to really get airborne. He could have actually been in somewhat of a dangerous fight for us if he had gotten himself all the way up to speed, but we did catch him in time and managed to absolutely fuck him up. I did not expect that fight to go nearly as well as it did, but he luckily did give it to us. Now, the reason the match is still going is because the F-100, or F-104 actually, is just roaming out in the skies. I am telling him that, hey, you could please eject if you're that damaged. Like, please don't waste any more time. Eventually he does eject or run into a mountain. I don't know exactly what happens, but he did eventually end up giving us the game, which is an absolute fucking miracle. But either way, this game was well out of the ordinary. Usually with the MiG-19, you do expect to dominate since it is such a well-adjusted fighter for 9.3. It does have a little bit of a rough time in an up tier, but it is still a very good plane, and it shows. I mean, you usually would be expecting to get 2-3 kills in the MiG-19. Even as a somewhat inexperienced player, getting even just 1 kill a game is very easy. And getting these egregiously high 8-kill games is not very common, but it goes to show that with a little bit of pre-planning, a little bit of understanding what your plane is good at, and knowing the other planes you're going to be facing, and knowing how to engage in a fight with this plane can really drag you that extra mile and help you get an incredible amount of kills in your matches. Unfortunately, I don't really have a lot of other games where I did as well. It wasn't too uncommon for me to see games where I was getting 4, 5, 6 kills in a row. But this game, on its own, just without having to bounce back and forth to different games, just encapsulated all of the things that I think make the MiG-19 super great, and all of the things that I thought you guys should be well aware of if you were to try and learn it yourself. I hope you guys did enjoy the video. If you guys have any questions about the MiG-19 or any planes you would like to see me do, feel free to ask in the comments below. If you're looking to join the community, the link to the Discord is in the description. And if you'd like to catch any of the future uploads, feel free to subscribe so you can catch them when they are new. As always, I hope you guys did enjoy, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Until then, I wish you all good luck in your games, and I hope you all have a wonderful night.